Hello and welcome to the Knock On KCLR Sports weekly rugby podcast with Carlow, Kilkenny and Tullow rugby clubs. And we've got Paddy Brown, Tom Crotty and James Blanchfield. Lads, how's it going?
Grand, Steve.
How's Stephen? How's it going?
Sure, not too bad. Busy times. Lots of rugby to keep us entertained anyway. The Champions Cup is back last weekend and more action this weekend as well. And of course, the stuff on our own pitches as well. Whether it's the J1s, J2s, or down to the minis, still kept going. It's our time of the year, lads, isn't it? It's when we get busy.
Yeah.
Paddy, I'm going to start with you. You've a game this weekend, of course, in the cup, in the AIL Cup, and that as well. But talk to us about the J1s and give us up to date from that point of view.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. It was. I'll talk about the big match against Enniskillen next Saturday, which is another little bit of history, playing a northern team for the first time in a competitive match. But so we're looking forward to that. But I'll come back to that in a minute after I kind of review happenings of last weekend. So I suppose for a lot of people in a lot of sports last weekend, the weather dominated everything, and a lot of games were called off. But luckily, our match against Ashbourne went ahead in a gale. I was up at it, and it certainly was in a gale. Before I talk about the first, our seconds sadly conceded. They weren't able to get a team out, and that's a pity because we often talk about the importance of the seconds in keeping the pressure on the first and providing cover for the first when there's injuries and that sort of thing. So we were disappointed to have to concede there. Ashbourne was one that we obviously, even with the few injuries we had, we needed to target for points because they are sort of going through a bad run at the moment, and we certainly felt we needed to come home with something material, particularly after getting nothing out of Bective the previous week and falling behind Toms and Carlow on the points table because of their big win that weekend. And our loss, so it was a really almost a must win for us. And Ashbourne put it up to us in the first half. Now they played with the wind in the first half, and they scored 2 tries. And the score was we scored 1 unconverted try. So the score, I think, at half time was 14-5. Jack Hanlon had got a try in the first half, but we were struggling, and Ashbourne were probably using the wind pretty well and kept us pinned back and scored their 2 tries. We turned then into the second half and brought on I should mention the team first, of course, because there was a few significant changes there. So at full back was Ryan Jordan. The 3 quarters was Ty Walsh, Jack Johnson, Jack Hanlon and Ryan O'Neill. Peter Burgess out half, Garrett Fitzgerald scrum half. The front row, Scott Callback, young Dan Culleton and Fiat Kavanagh. And in the second row, Martin Cole and Colin Gorry. In the back row, Theo Byrne, Steve Smith and Joe Waters. And the subs that came on were Mark Ashton, Buck O'Keogh, Adam Burgess, Will O'Brien and Tide McCarthy. So the subs are certainly, that's why I thought of the team, because Mark Ashton came on just after half time in the front row and scored 2 very strong tries, and certainly Mark is a man that's improving greatly with every match, and he got 2 very powerful kind of Martin Cole type tries and worked his way over from about 5 meters out in both cases, and he certainly is a guy that's improving at every match. Buck O'Keogh came on then for Dan Culleton as hooker and played his part as well. Adam Burgess, who is a brother of our out half, Peter Burgess, it was his first game in the first, he came on as a sub, and he started for Rathvilly Gaelic football this year at midfield, so he's a very young player with a bright future, and I'm sure he'll be trying to juggle rugby and football as he goes ahead. With the win, then Tullow kept the ball down the field with in their half, and the Ashbourne challenge petered out really, I suppose, as the game went on. But having said that, Ashbourne really did put it up to us for the first 40-50 minutes and gave us a little bit of a fright, I'd say. But having said that, the wind was a major factor, and maybe we were always going to win it anyway. So that we did. We got 5 tries in the end. I said Mark Ashton got 2 in the second half. Martin Cole got 1, and Ty Walsh were the try scorers. It was a very difficult day for kickers. I think we converted 2 of the 5 tries, and the final score then was Ashbourne 14, Tullow 31. So yeah, we got 5 valuable points on the table, and I mentioned the table earlier, and like Carlow had leapfrogged us, and Tom will talk about that, I'm sure, in a few minutes. But they had a tough one then against Seapoint, and didn't get on with that. So it means we are 16 points, and Carlow on 12. And Ashbourne are kind of falling behind at this stage, or falling back at 4. So I'm sure they'll be the one that will be out to take points off, and will probably be struggling at the end of the season. But it's now getting into the business end of the season, and Wicklow are on 20 points, and the Tyre are going very well, and had a good win last week, and they're on 24 with the 3 Dublin clubs on top. But it's quite tight. We have a break now from the league, from the Leinster League, but we have our cup match next week. But January then will be very interesting, especially given the teams we have. We have Wicklow at home on the 4th of January. We have Setonians at home again on the 11th of January, and we're away to Carlow, which sometimes is nearly a home game on the 18th of January. So there's a bit of a break after that. But those 3 matches will be very important in terms of sort of juggling for positions and keeping out of relegation zones and all those sort of tough situations to be in. So yeah, we'll be hoping that we can avoid injuries next week, and with a bit of a break, then we'll get some of the other injured players back, and hopefully get as much as we can out of those 3 matches. So it's exciting times ahead, and Tom will talk about it too. And certainly the local derbies are going to come and build the excitement, and also facing into the Town's Cup at that time of year. So it's all going to be happening there. As I said earlier, we're looking forward to Saturday. Call coming in there, I had to cancel it. Excuse me there. We've Enniskillen down at 2:30 in Tullow to play in the semi-final of the All Ireland Junior Cup, and because it's a big occasion, the lads are really up for it, despite the few injuries that we've had. And I'm told that Adam Johnson and Jack Johnson, or Jack McDonald, who be key players for us and have been out for the last few matches, will both be in the subs, hopefully, and hopefully we'll get a run next Saturday. So it'd be great to see those 2 guys back. And other than that, apart from Tom Cashin, who's off on his honeymoon, we're getting back reasonably close to a full hand to pick from. Obviously, Enniskillen are an unknown quantity. They came through a few tough matches, and the northern teams have been winning that All Ireland Junior Cup in the last few years, and I think Enniskillen got to the final last year. So it's we really don't know. So we'll be depending on having a good selection to pick from, and the home crowd to hopefully jizz us on. But I'm told that during the week there was a fair old buzz, and there's a bit of hype building for this, and KCLR are coming out to cover the match live, and so that'll add to the bit of excitement as well. And hopefully we'll get a good crowd for that. So after that, then we're into the winter break, and as I said, some weary limbs hopefully will be able to recover. So as I said, the seconds unfortunately conceded against Ashbourne. So and they don't have a match next Saturday because of the break in the league. So our seconds have a day off next Saturday. The ladies, we had 2 matches last weekend. The AIL team were playing Blackrock, and that match was to be on the 3G pitch in Tullow, and the storm on Friday night blew down one of the posts, so we had to look for alternatives, and Tom and Carlow came up trumps, so we actually played that match in Carlow, at 5 o'clock last Saturday evening. And I think it coincided with the Munster match, so I'm sure there was divided loyalties there as to which match to watch. But anyway, it was another tasting defeat for our ladies. They started well and led for a part of the match in the first half, but the final score actually, Blackrock brought on a very strong bench, and Tullow had no bench effectively, and that's part of our big problem this year. So the Blackrock pulled away in the second half to win 51-8, but the first half certainly was a little bit more encouraging than some of the recent games we've had. So, but still, it was a big defeat. And our J1 team lost in Tullow 24-43 to Clontarf. So it's tough going for the ladies at the moment, and they're not helped by a lot of injuries that are out there. So the next week, the ladies are playing on Saturday in the morning time at half 12 to Belvedere in Ollie Campbell Park up in Belvedere, and our J1 ladies were to have played a tie on Sunday at 1 p.m, but they had to concede in that because of they weren't able to get a team together because of the numbers issue I referred to there earlier. So that's all that's happening on the field with the senior men and women. Because of the weather, there was a limited schedule of junior matches last weekend. There was 6 matches postponed, I think. Our under-13 boys continued their good run and won at home to a tie 25-12. The under-16 boys, their league match was cancelled, so they had a friendly against Kildare in Kildare and a good win, 40 points to 12. So they're the only matches that were played, actually, as far as I can see here. At the weekend, there's a fairly full schedule of matches. The under-18 Rhinos are out Friday night, and Tom will know more about that, but they're away to Wicklow on Friday night. On Saturday, then, the under-14 boys are away to a tie. The under-15 boys are away to Boyne, and the under-16 Rhinos are away to Barnhall. The under-18 boys are home to Naas, and I've mentioned the J1s and the ladies' matches. On Sunday, then, our under-18As are playing Carlow in Oak Park, I think, at 1 o'clock. So a reasonably full schedule of matches upcoming to win. But I suppose the big excitement for us is welcoming the Northern team down for a competitive match, and very much a voyage into the unknown. So we're looking forward to that. So that's it, Stephen.
Absolutely. So trying to find my mute button there, Paddy, to turn myself back on there. The mouse went missing off the screen at the moment, the panic. No, that's
take
great.
Take a fair button to mute you, Stephen.
I'll tell you honest, cheers. That's it. No, it's good, and good luck now in that game of the weekend. Great to have KCLR out there, of course, as well, to bring people commentary if they want to listen in their cars or online or whatever. You can be kept up to date with all the goings on out the back gates. The weather was fairly strong now last weekend, in fairness. Woke me up a couple of times during the night as well. I was just thinking to myself, there'd be no fixtures going ahead. But yeah, some did, in fairness, when it died down in the afternoon and that. And then, of course, Sun is a different day as well, so it was much calmer then. But that's it. Good luck with that in the weekend. Tom Crotty is going to talk to us about Carlow. Tom, you're quite on the Western Front this weekend, but you would have had action on last weekend as well, barring the weather, of course.
Yeah, it was tough day at the office for both seconds and firsts. We started off with 2 injuries to the first team. Our 2 centres were out during the week, so we lost Dave Mack and Sean Quinlan during the week. So we had a new centre partnership on the first team, which then led to the seconds losing players, and then with a couple between the sicknesses and lads not available on the seconds, our seconds probably wasn't as strong as I had been coming into the game. They played well. Seapoint have a good second side there. I think they're top of the table at the moment, or second from the top of the table in the seconds league. It was 19-10 was the final score in that game. They were unlucky. Carlow were beating down the door, trying to get a bonus point out, but didn't. Tough game, as I said, Seapoint were a solid they're probably one of the few things, you know, that have a solid first and seconds, and a good panel for both at the moment. So it just wasn't our day. We probably needed one or two, and like we had to bring one of our under 18s. Came up Alex Gordon had to say fair juice to him, came up onto the bench. It was his first kind of senior game, and he came on in the second half for the second. So it was just one of those days, and then it moved on to the first. We had a really good start to the half. We were well in the game. Like there was a strong wind kind of coming, blowing down into the bottom right-hand corner of the stand side. So if you're looking from the clubhouse, it was kind of going to the left-hand corner on the stand side, which is unusual for Carlow. It's normally in the right, bottom right, but it's on the opposite side. But it's we started off. We got Joe Brown scored a good try, and then we let Seapoint straight back in with another try. So it's 5-5, and then Crotty got a good breakaway try, and we were 10-5. Then we were 10-5 coming to the break, just before the break, and then we gave a silly try away to Seapoint, and then it was 12-10 turning at half time. Now, to be honest, at 12-10, we probably thought, you know, it was going to be with the wind in our backs, kind of, well, not really in our back, but it was a strong wind. We used it right, you know, would have had a slight advantage. It wouldn't have been all that worry. But came to the second half, and even though we were scrum dominant, we spent most of our game in Seapoint's half. Couple of silly errors. Our line-out wasn't. We were probably making poor decisions in line-out, throwing the ball to the back of the line-out with the wind that was there. We shouldn't have done it. Call probably should have taken 2 penalties that we had. No, there weren't guarantees with the wind, but I know it's hindsight to say, but you have these questions in a league match. Do you go chase your lead and go believe that you have, you know, which we did believe we had the team to win, and we just belted on it kept going down into the one corner. We spent an awful lot of time in kind of from their 10 back into the try line, and we didn't put points forward, you know, and they got a penalty, and it was, you know, then it was only 5 points in the game, and we were chasing we were chasing the try to win the game, and we were probably a little bit indecisive. Like there's some really good play. The forwards played well. It wasn't any. When Shirley had a good game again. John Lyons, Joe Brown has scored a try. The backs were shooting. Ian Atkinson had a very good game in the centre. Again, he went in at 12 instead of Dave Mack when we've norm position as this. But Ian had a good game. Dan had a good game at 10. It just was a combination of probably a bit of an experience. Like Seapoint are a good side, and they just probably had that little bit more of experience than us, and managed to drag out the win. But the only one, it's an issue that I thought was really poor, and it's kind of something. It's not the first time this has popped up, but with 20 minutes to go, or just inside 20 minutes to go, we absolutely buried them in the scrum. We got a scrum penalty. And 2 minutes later, another prop came off, and all of a sudden, they went to uncontested scrums. Now, this issue completely, when you have a pack that's completely dominant, and you know, a dominant pack, especially in scrums, it completely took away our strongest weapon on the day. We gave them a launch pad. They had a complete launch pad to take off from, because, as I said, there's no pushing the scrum, so you have to sit there and wait. It gave them the perfect launch every time to clear a ball, to get rid of the ball, to attack us, to hold the ball. No, I'm not saying that. I just think it's really ridiculous in this day and age that you can't. If it goes uncontested scrum, there has to be some penalty to that team that they haven't got enough players, and you can't have. It's supposed to be for head injury and such, but they can't all be head injuries. They can't, you know. Something has to be done that if you have a dominant pack, it's a very simple thing. if we went out against Tullow and Tullow were dominant in the pack against us, it'd be very simple for us now to drop a player, and go, oh God, we've no more front rows, and now Tullow we've taken away their biggest asset. It's not right in this day and age. I still believe that a player should be taken off the opposition team if you cannot produce a front row, or you have enough players for the team that goes down should be penalised in some way, whether it's dropping a player, something has to be done. Because look, Seapoint, there's nothing to do with Seapoint, by the way, because they were a good side. Like, they were a good side from the start. They're a solid side. They have an extremely good backline. They have a very solid pack. Their line out was fantastic. Probably one of the reasons they probably had the beating of our line out, but it just came down when you take away, as I say, when you take away a scrum, it's frustrating. The players get frustrated because you've now, as I say, lost that whole momentum of going forward. Like, potentially, if we continue the way we were, we might have got more penalties inside. We would have taken the penalty. We would have taken the scrum maybe instead of a line out with the weather that was there. But when you cannot push forward, like, it's a bit ridiculous. I just felt, and it's not been a sore loser or anything in that sense of it. I just think as for the game, we have certain things. You have set pieces that are key to the game, and such a huge part of rugby, and that's our scrums, our lineouts, and they're all set. They're two set pieces that are there from day one in the game, and it shouldn't be compromised. I just found it so frustrating that for 20 minutes of a game, a key game, that we had to play with uncontested scrums. Now, to be honest, if we wanted them, we probably weren't cute enough. We could have taken off all our front rows and brought back on and the back row subs that we had on and play with no front rows and just put back rows in. But if that's the way the game can be played, it's a joke. But we lost it. But anyway, look, we lost the game on our own merit. We should have won it. As I said, we had 80 minutes of great rugby last week. We had 40 minutes of great rugby this week, and then we just kind of just a bit of frustration got in. I think it's just that bit of experience, and probably having an unsettled centre partnership again didn't help. But look, that's the way that the cookie crumbles. We lost the points. We gave away a silly penalty right at the end, and Seapoint were only too glad to take away our bonus point as well. So that's the way that, as I say, the cookie crumbles. We had enough there we had enough to win the game. We didn't. So, and like, that's the end of the story with it. We're now under pressure. As Paddy said, our next three games are massive. We're away to Bective in our first game, the league toppers. That's in Bective, so that's going to be a mountain to climb there. And the rest of them then is just going to be a cup match from here on in. We'll have to fight all the way. And everybody's now looking at results in the AIL, who's going to come up or go down, because it mightn't necessarily mean second is safe anymore or second is a playoff. You could be in second from the bottom and go straight down, depending on the results that happen. So it's it's squeaky bum time for us, but the atmosphere is still good in the camp. The lads were a bit pissed themselves afterwards. They knew they could have won it, but look, they're a fantastic bunch of guys, and they're still out training. They're still putting in the work, and no matter what's been thrown against them. That was the end of our adult rugby. The women had no match, and so it was great to have the Tullow come over and play with the ladies at the end. Tullow played very well in the first half, and I think, Paddy, you're probably right with you probably just don't have the depth of the bigger teams at this stage, because watching the first 20 minutes, you were well into it. I watched a good bit of the first 20 minutes of it, and you were well in the game. And just when you have that depth and quality in the squad, it's very hard. It's very hard to compete. But in fairness, the Tullow women did very well. Our own youths then with very little games on. The under-13s beat Longford 33-0 away. Our under-16s were beaten by Portlaoise 35-0. Our under-15s narrow loss to Longford away, 33-27. I think that was all the youth games for the weekend. This weekend we have our under 14s are playing Newcastle home on Saturday at 12. Our under 15s are playing Wexford at home at 12. Our under 18s are away. Our under 18s Amber are away to Athy at 11:30 on Saturday morning, and then our under 18 black team are playing Tullow at home at 1 o'clock on Sunday. And I think that's all from the Carlow camp for this week.
Quite enough. That's it. We might get one more podcast before the Christmas if we're not too busy next week.
Well, I won't be doing a whole lot. We're going up in the bus to the Claremont game. So.
Good stuff.
And you could tell us about the journey home, Tom, couldn't you?
The journey home.
In next week's podcast, you could describe the journey home.
I'll tell you, I'll do the full rundown commentary of me on tour in Dublin.
What you remember of it?
Well, I hope it's better than other years, because every other year we've gone to that game, and it starts off with the best intentions in the world. We sit down, we go up, we have a few pints, and we go to the game, we sit in, and after about 20 minutes, we end up watching it in the bar downstairs.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Well,
it's not, and there's no offense. It's no offense, but every time we've gone to watch it, I don't think there's been a close game yet. So Leinster have kind of taken over after about 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
That's
game.
true, yeah.
And then we've kind of gone, here, what's the point?
We'll talk about that for a few minutes. We'll start with Leinster, of course. A really, really strange match against Bears last weekend. Really weird. The scrum was a disaster. Just a lot of stuff. But when it clicked, and Sam Prendergast, I know there's a lot of talk about him and everything like that, but the chap is doing well. He finished those 2 tries very well.
Oh, he's absolute class. I think, obviously he's very young still and still learning, but he's able to glide over the ground, and he showed massive speed for those 2 tries. And but apart from that, he's passing and bringing the ball up to the line. He's cross kicking. He's line kicking. If he keeps going the way he's going, he seems to be the complete package. And I'm really excited to watch him as he develops further. Like Bristol were unfortunate to lose their out half after about 5 minutes. But I thought the guy that went in there did quite well, the South African, Van Rensburger for his name. But as you say, Stephen, it was a really, really strange game. Jordy Barrett played fantastic when he came on. And, of course, all the talk was about the bomb squad. And I got under Leo's skin a little bit, when people talked about the resources in Leinster, and he was quick to point out that I think 20 of the 23 players were homegrown Leinster players, and I suppose and Bristol I think had only about 14 of the 23 were homegrown players, so he does have a point, but anyway, I suppose when you have 2 as big names as Snyman and Barrett, it's you will get talk like that. So, but anyway, it's early days yet. It was a very strange game. I thought the referee went completely overboard in the scrums. I don't know what was wrong with him, but it made a farce of the game to a point. And but Leinster's real turning point was to score that try, which is a little bit lucky in ways when there were 2 men down, and that really was what turned the game as it went into the second half and brought on Barrett and the bomb squad. But anyway, it's all to play for on Saturday. Tom will be up there.
The thing is to still have something like more players to bring in.
Oh yeah, sure. The panel is incredible, isn't it, Tom?
Like, it's a huge panel, and they are like it is. I think it's just because Leinster have big signings like Snyman, and they're 2 big signings. If there were normally Leinster have the signings they bring in are they're solid players, but they're not star names. But you have that. Jordy Barrett is like he's just so class. That's a phenomenon. That was the best. It's the best signing Leinster, I'd say, Leinster will ever make, and not just from on the field, but for teaching young lads and just being like for the likes of Prendergast to be up there and playing and training with him. It's just like that's going to bring anybody on.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're standing at out half, and the guy outside you is Jody Barrett. Jody Barrett is like one of the most famous All Blacks at the moment. Like it's phenomenal, and Snyman is he's just phenomenal. He's so good.
It's amazing how uninjured he is this season so far.
Don't Stephen, stop rubbing it in now to the Leinsters.
No. But it's he's been brought on for the right amount of time. Like he's not coming on. He's not putting. I'd say he's not under the same pressure as he was, and I think he's got over those injuries that he had. You know, he hadn't. Look, when the season is right, people don't get injured. Do you ever notice that when the season's on point, you'll know what you're set. Like you'll know, Paddy, the second half of the season, if you arrive up into Towns Cup time and you've got a full squad and nobody's injured, you have a fair chance of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have a rhythm going. Yeah, you're right. I think. Yeah,
you can see it with Leinster at the moment. The potential, like I think it's honestly down between themselves and Toulouse. I don't think there's anybody else out there full point. Like full squad on full squad is it's going to. I can't see anyone beating.
Yeah, it's hard to see. No, I mean, Bordeaux,
like Bath are top of the Premiership with Bristol Bears, and Bath are like they're bought in. That's a complete buy-in side, but they're not. You know, Harlequins were beaten at the weekend. There's nothing from the Premiership.
Nothing from the Premiership. No, I still wouldn't rule out Bordeaux or I wouldn't rule out Bordeaux or La Rochelle, but I think I agree with you that Leinster and Toulouse are the teams to beat.
There isn't anybody in England. Absolutely nobody in England. I watch the Premiership inside out, and when you see them come up against the teams at the weekend, like the Bath lost, so did Harlequins, so did Bristol Bears, you know, and they lost back. Like Bristol Bears lost at home. They haven't even travelled to Leinster, like, you know, they haven't travelled away. So
I agree with all that.
I won't say it's Leinster's to lose, because anytime I said that, they have not. Yeah. Well, it's definitely down between the two sides, and you can't take it away from. I think it's just Leinster as a whole. Their professionalism in developing from, as I know it's the cliche, from the ground up, or schools and the whole lot, and the amount of money that they put through everything, and that's also through sponsorships. It's not just it's not there if you were bankrolling this with schools and everything else that comes through. They're just so far of everybody else, and that's why there's people coming to look at Leinster to see what they're doing. Clubs are going to look at what they're doing. That is something different to make. Like they probably have the best academy in the world.
Yeah,
you know that they are doing something different.
Yeah, I've been working on it for a long time as well.
Well, they have been working on it. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't. Yeah. And I say that to anyone. It's nothing to do with the IRFU. Yes, they'll have a certain say on certain things and where people go, and people can feel hard done by. But for Leinster, it's 20 years in the making, at least.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And other teams haven't followed suit. So, you know, you can't live on the past. You have to move on and get on and move it. You know, Munster had a decent win at the weekend as well, but they're still not anywhere near the same category.
That was a strange game with the two sendings off, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, there were two ridiculous. I mean, the first one was definitely random. Your man went in with full intent, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
The second one, well, I don't like Casey didn't land on his head, but the fact that he did it deserves to be sent off. That was just ridiculous.
Oh, it was blatant. And I think Casey was lucky that he didn't, because I think another player, maybe Peter Manning, came in and just pushed him at the right time, but he didn't land on his head. But he was going to land on his head, so it was a blatant.
No, Pierce was right. He was 100% right. Both of them were. I think it'll be. I must have a tough one away. They're away in France this weekend, and I don't know where they are. Where's Ulster?
Oh, I don't know, but they were blitzed.
Jeez, they were blitzed.
They were so bad.
They set themselves up for that. They picked a very weak team, and obviously they conceded the game before the off. But they're in a very tough group too.
Yeah, I don't see why you do that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I presume they were trying to get something from the home match. But yeah, it's a hard call. Often the French teams do that all the time, don't they?
Yeah. But you still wouldn't see Toulouse sending over a crap team.
No.
Yeah.
What did it? You know, that if they're anyway decent, but Jesus, they were just on fire. Jesus, what you call them? DuPont was just exceptional.
Incredible, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Week in, week out.
he just gets better every game, doesn't he? He's Superman, really, isn't he?
I was watching. Well, my son reckons he's the Matrix. There's two of them on the pitch somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where he comes out of, but it's.
He's unreal.
I'm looking forward to the game now on Saturday.
Yeah, no, it should be good.
Oh, it was a good one.
Interesting to see what combinations to put out. There's a couple of injuries in the back three with Leinster, so we'll have to see what the story is. But sure, Jordan Jordy Barrett might drop back to 15, I'd say, and he might start.
There's a lot of talk that he might. Yeah, it'd be interesting again to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Lads, we'll wrap it up there. James Blanchfield is busy today, so he wasn't able to join us on the podcast, but we'll try and catch up with him, of course, next week. Go well at the weekend, Tullow.
Absolutely, Paddy, best of luck.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Stephen.
Enjoy the day. Should be a good one. It's no mean feat getting playing in a semi-final of an AIL Junior Cup, so it's good. It's good to be playing rugby this time of the year as well.
Absolutely,
and, of course, good luck to all the teams from the three counties playing this weekend. Lads, we'll wrap it there and we'll chat to you next week. Have a good weekend.
Okay, Stephen. Take care. Take care, guys. Take care. All the best.